Now recording. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to the 8th National Santa webinar. Yes, we've got 8 of these. There's 7 of them in the can already on YouTube and Facebook. So, I hope that I've been getting a lot of nice notes from Santas. And I know not everything we discuss is going to be, something that pertains to what you're doing or what your plans are or anything like that. But I do hope that those who stick through the hour and listen, maybe you pick up 1 or 2 things, something that will help you, or something that you can share with someone else who needs a little help or something like that. So again, I hope it's great. I host these webinars on Zoom every Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time. And I also at the same time live stream them onto Facebook. So that does help a little bit. And I'm going to do something here. I'm going to mute everybody because I just heard someone clear their throat. And you are allowed to unmute yourself if you have to cut in on something like that, but I'm going to try to keep everybody muted. Okay. Anyway, like I said, everything is posted on Facebook and then the next day on YouTube. Plus, if you forget all that, you can go to my website, nationalsanta.com, and right on the menu bar, it says webinars. Click on that, and all the information is there about these webinars. And where you can find them. I also have it posted over on my other website on Real Santas. So again, webinars is keyword, and you can get that information. Tonight, the main subject is getting a head start on the holidays. Yeah, isn't that a neat subject? And what are we doing? We're looking at our countdowns. I'm going to look at my countdown calendar right now. And there it is, guys. Look at that. 177 days, 3 hours, 55 minutes, and 19 seconds until Christmas. Yeah, it gets closer and closer every day, every minute, but that's where we're sitting right now. So half the year is gone, and we'll get the less than 180 days until Christmas arrives, which means let's take off a few days. About 140 days, a lot of Santas are going to be starting work. So that's where we're going on that. Before I get into our subject tonight, I also want to thank everybody for your comments and notes last week regarding the information on Gig Salad. We had our host, Megan Price, the Director of Customer Experiences at Gig Salad, and she said she enjoyed talking with the Santas. She said a lot of Santas have also sent her emails and notes and things like that, and she wanted to thank everybody for those notes and such. And for those of you who do need to contact her or want to contact her, it's real easy, Megan, M-E-G-A-N, at gigsalad.com. And for those of you who missed last week and maybe you're on Gig Salad now and you got to renew or whatever, there's a discount right now for all Santas. So when you sign in, you just add the discount code 50SANTA. That's 50% off the regular price of Gig Salad. So that she's still offering that. So that's a commercial for her. By the way, Megan said she'd come back, do another webinar with us, possibly do one on things you can do to enhance your personal profile as you have it set up on Gig Salad, things that different people use to help promote themselves and things like that. And now, time for a commercial. The commercial is for my favorite charity, the Marine Corps, Toys for Tots Foundation. And guess what? It's all about Christmas in July. Yeah, July starts tomorrow. Yes. So we're going to talk about Christmas in July. In these unprecedented times, everyone's been adjusting to new ways of living. We've all been keeping our hopes and prayers that we and our loved ones have been safe. And as we've been moving through this crisis as a nation, the Marine Corps Toys for Tots Foundation wants everyone to know that they are committed to being there in these difficult times. And, we all think about them being the major #1 Christmas time charity for children. And that's their big thing. And the coronavirus pandemic has shuttered countless businesses, forced families, to remain isolated in their homes. There's a ton of unemployment out there. Millions of people right now are unemployed and without income and in dire need of help. And with families across the country on lockdown, everything also trickles down to the children. Now, while Toys for Tots is, like I said, known as a Christmas time charity, guess what? To provide immediate relief and assistance these past few months, a lot of you probably don't even know about this, Toys for Tots partnered with Good 360, which is a global leader in product philanthropy and purposeful giving, and they distributed over 2 million toys to children all over the country through a network of various nonprofit agencies. And all this was contributed to children for their well-being and their educational development, as children are one of our nation's greatest resources, and we've got to take care of them. And they gave these children games and books and toys and kinds of things to keep them busy, to keep their minds occupied, and to help them out. So beginning tomorrow, Toys for Tots is going to have a Christmas in July campaign. And they're going to be promoting this for the month, inviting people to make some special donations so they can replenish the 2 million toys that they gave away. A lot of these toys were toys that had come in that were supposed to be for next Christmas. They also sometimes have a little bit of a surplus left over after the regular Christmas season. So that's where all these toys came from. Plus other corporations kind of stepped up a little bit early in donating some things. But we need to replenish that, and that's 2 million toys, which is about $15 a toy on the average. So you can imagine $30 million would be a lot of money to raise. And so they're hoping to get some people to step forward and make donations. It's a difficult time for donations, but America's always been good, even in the roughest times, of contributing and helping. So we hope people will help us out and help us restock those 2 million toys that were given away during COVID-19. And finally, I'm pleased to announce that when I start my webinar next Tuesday night, I have a very special guest for the opening of the webinar, and that will be Lieutenant General James Laster. He's retired, but he didn't really retire too much because he's now the president and CEO of the Toys for Tots Foundation. And he'll be my guest. We'll talk a little bit about the campaign, and we'll also talk about the Christmas in July project and get everybody a little bit of information. Part of this I'm also doing because I'm hoping to recruit some of you out there to help out on the local campaigns this fall when the Toys for Tots, kicks in. And, again, because of everything that's been going on, there's going to be a big need to help some families out, and a lot more than in past. So we will need your help and all that. So, okay, let's get started. Get a head start on the holidays, okay? About 17 years ago, I started teaching my school. And as I started doing that, I was doing a lot of writing. I was also doing some blogs and other things for various Santa groups that had newsletters and such, electronic newsletters and things. And I would write articles on different subjects for each of their monthly issues. And as I started doing that, I started working on something a friend of mine had been doing. She had been promoting home organization and things like that. And we both got to talking about the fact of how people stress out during the holidays. Now, I was looking at it from the side of the Santas. As a Santa myself, there was a lot of extra stress because, you've got your regular, I was working a regular job and doing Santa, those, the 2 months of, at Christmas, trying to keep all these different things together, keep so many, pots on the burners, as they say, on the stove, and it can get a little stressful. So I started, listening to her about organizational things and trying to get myself set up. And as I did that, I started writing down things and posting them for Santas and Mrs. about being a little more organized for the holidays and their planning. And I've got to get a few people in the waiting room here. If you'll wait one moment and hit that little magic admit all button. Okay. And back to my speech here. Again, what we're talking about is I've been writing about being organized and planning for the holidays. So I started working on it, and I basically titled my subject, Get a Head Start of the Holidays, and started writing down things and putting together information about how we as Santas, we don't just have to be organized like the regular people out there. If we don't have our home decorated for Christmas by Thanksgiving, we're in deep reindeer stuff, like reindeer poop, okay? And we got to watch out. So we need to be organized so that we can get all those things taken care of, because how many of you have not decorated your house? And then your neighbors are saying, wait a minute, he's Santa Claus and didn't decorate his house? Come on now, okay? You got to keep up the image, guys. And it's not just 24/7, 365 with the beard. It's everything else. They want to see, they expect you to be, a little bit ahead of them sometimes. So again, it gets to be stressful for us. So I wrote down a whole bunch of stuff. So I'm going to walk you through some of those things. Now, as I wrote all these things, year after year after year, I kept adding more and more and more. And 2 years ago, I published a book called Santa's Tips to Surviving the Holidays. And it's a book for the consumer, but it has a lot of the information that I took from what I'd written for Santa's and Mrs. Claus. And so I have all of this information. And I'll tell you at the end of tonight where you can also find this. So you can take some notes as I'm talking, but I'll give you some places to go and where you can actually read all of this and maybe even print out a copy for yourself to help yourself out. But one of the things I did in putting my plan together was starting in July. And you're saying, oh my gosh, starting in July, why would Santa want to start in July? Well, if you take all the things you have to do to get ready for Christmas and you spread them out over 4 or 5 months, the workload is lighter. You do a few things each month, you do a little pickup in between, a little updating in between. But the thing is you get certain things done early. So when Thanksgiving hits, you're pretty much done. You may have to do a little bit of cooking during December. You might have to wrap the last few presents or something like that. But the idea being is before you head off for your Santa job in November, you've got most of your work done. That means you can relax and concentrate on the job, and you won't be as stressed as if you still had to do all of those things, okay? So let's start off with July. What would you do in July? Okay, very simply, start off, number one, go through everything you got in your house, in your basement, in your attic, all your Christmas stuff. Go through your decorations. Yeah, now you took all that stuff after Christmas. What did you do? You neatly wrapped everything up and you neatly packed everything. And really, how many of you just kind of opened a bin up and kind of stuffed a few things in? Okay, so what I'm saying is pull all the stuff out. Make sure you got all your stuff organized. I talk about Santa's wardrobe and having a dressing area and things like that. Sometimes you have to do the same thing for all of your Christmas decorations. Get everything together, okay? Go through it. If something's old, something is broken, something needs repair, this is a time to decide, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to give it away to the Goodwill? Does it get thrown in the trash? Is it something you can fix? Is it something you want to put up this year or something you're kind of tired of and maybe it's time to pass it on to someone else, okay? So you got to think of these things. So go through all of your stuff. This means the attic, the basement, closets, under the stairwell, wherever you've hidden stuff, okay? Get it all together. And right now, since we're all kind of stuck at home with nothing to do, right? You have nothing to do, right? It's a good time to maybe take on one of these little tasks in a day or two here and there, get all this stuff together, go through it, Now, anything you want to get rid of, decide whether it goes to the Goodwill or goes in the trash. Okay, if you decide you want to sell it, you want to do it at a garage sale or yard sale or something like that, remember, it won't sell as well now as if you waited maybe till October. You'll get a better price in October. You sell it in July and it's just a liquidation then. But again, you make the decision. You're going to liquidate it all, you're going to make money on it. Maybe you go to eBay on something. Maybe you've got something that's a collectible. Example, I've had some friends who, have so many cloth teak dolls and they just don't have room for them anymore. When I moved from California to here in New York, I had over 100 cloth teak dolls. I kept about a dozen of them, my most favorites, and the rest I liquidated. I took all of my collectibles, the stuff I had going back to as far as, 1850s, these are items about Santa Claus, all my Thomas Nast illustrations and drawings and things like that, are very highly valuable collectibles. And I donated those to the Santa Claus Museum in Santa Claus, Indiana. Got a little tax, benefit there. But again, that was the best way to go because it didn't have a real saleable price. But sometimes you have to go through everything, merge and purge. While you're doing this, also make a list of anything you want to buy, something you want to replace. So this is starting one of your lists of things you need to do. So make a list of those decorations you want to have, you want to keep. Maybe you saw something you liked last year on somebody's house. Make a note of it. Maybe that's something you want to get this year. By the way, if you have a little extra cash right now, sometimes you can purchase the things that you want now on the internet. And sometimes, because it's July, it's on sale. So think about it that way, okay? When September comes along, and we get to that in my calendar a little bit later, you'll see that some of the decorations are coming out in the stores. If you've made a list of things you want to replace or you want to buy, this list will also be good when September comes along, so that when you run into Target or you run into one of the stores where they've got some of the Christmas stuff, you know, it reminds you that maybe it's time to pick it up. Because remember, the good stuff always sells out fast. Okay, so just think about that. So that takes care of basically July. We don't want to do too much in July. So it's really going through your inventory, cleaning it up a little bit. Some people take a little bit of July. Maybe they'll sit down and start writing notes on their Christmas letter that they're going to put in, things like that. Some people even, as they're going through all their Christmas decorations and Christmas stuff that they packed away, they've got Christmas cards from last year. Start putting things like that aside, because later you'll take those Christmas cards and maybe that'll be part of your list for writing your Christmas cards this year. If you got a card from someone last year, you probably should send them a card this year. That's the way it goes, so you plan it on that way. Get into August, right? Okay, in August, number one item, update your holiday Christmas card list. Just what I was talking about. Decide what kind of and how many cards you're going to need this year. Now, a lot of us have gone to using the internet, sending a lot of greetings on the internet, a lot of postings and things like that. But the Christmas card is a very personal touch. And it is so nice, to send out cards. I don't send out that many. I send out maybe 100 cards, to certain people and things like that. I wish I could send out more. But the thing is, cards are a nice touch. And if you like really nice fancy cards, Costco and Sam's Clubs both get the real fancy Christmas cards. Usually in October they've got them, and you can, sometimes as early as September, you can get those. I think they sell them in batches of 30. Very classy, triple layered cutout cards and stuff like that. You may want to decide to have just a photo card. Whatever your decision, start making a little list of who you want to send the cards to. And by list, I also mean addresses. Okay, the name of the person, the address, things like that. Because a little later in future months, in October, you're probably going to print out all those labels. If you're like me, I don't write out labels that well. My handwriting is okay, but it looks much better if I print it out really nice on one of those fancy labels and put that on the envelope. Okay, and let's welcome Rick Rosenthal. He just signed in here, so let me get him on board. Okay, so that's it. Start on creating your list. It makes it easier if you update it each month. So put together what you got right now, and you'll review it as you go along each month. Maybe take a peek at your list and update it. If you've got somebody new to add, or as you're going along, keep track of what you're going to do on that. Okay. Decide what kind and how many cards you're going to want. Okay. One of the things that I have found very handy is I also, in fact, we've already done that at our home here. We've already started working on our Christmas list. We know what we're planning on getting for, like my daughter and son-in-law and the grandbaby and things like that. So we started working on some things early. Now, there's an advantage to that, and that advantage is buying things in July and August. Sometimes you can get better deals on some of the items you want, and we have found that, particularly if you live here in New York, you need winter clothing in December. You want to give someone a nice winter sweater or jacket. The prices on them are great here in July. So again, take advantage of some of these things. It's always easier to buy in the off season for something. So think about that. Start making your list. If you get ideas, clip out something, put a note somewhere. But keep track of the list of things you want to do. By writing it down or putting it somewhere in a file, it puts a little note in your mind also. I don't know how many of you use one of the iPhones or phones that have notepads in it, but I've got that. In fact, I can pick my phone up and tell Siri and make a note, for my Christmas list for this type of gift for someone, and it automatically goes into my phone. And later, every once in a while, I'll review my notes, and there it is to remind me, And I use my Siri a lot because I do get forgetful. So a lot of times, my wife will tell me, "Did you do this? Did you do that?" I'll put the note on my phone as my reminder, and then I have to check it every morning and go through my list. And is there something I need to do today? I'll pull it out and move it up to the top of the list, something I've got to accomplish that day. So I do keep track of those things. Also in August, go over your calendar. Now, I talked about in the previous webinars, particularly number 5 and number 6, I talked about planning and I talked about organization. And one of the things I covered was your calendar. And in your calendar, I mentioned the idea that you want to go through your calendar and you want to maybe pencil in all of the parties and events and contracts that you might have, or you might renew. At least, have these events lined up, or penciled in that tentatively where you're going to go or what you're going to do should that party come up. Okay. That's one. Number 2, put in things for yourself. When are you going to go to the grandkids' school play? Or is there a church event or other type of function that you want to, take care of? I also recommend that you put in things like appointments for getting your hair and beard, bleached or groomed. And even if it is not at a salon, if you do it yourself, I always pencil that in myself too. Make sure I have a note there so that I don't forget that I need to leave an evening open to do that. I can't just go, run off and do it anytime. I have to plan for it. So I put that in there. And you also may want to put in some time to maybe get a mani-pedi or go to a spa. I'm not just talking for the ladies either. Some of you Santas out there might like to do this. The reason I mention these things, and it may be you're just going to a barber. It may be you're just going to go, down to a health spa and sit in the hot tub or whatever. But the thing is, these things also reduce stress. And so I recommend you try to budget some personal time for yourself. If you have pets, you want to make sure you've scheduled their things that they need to do, their grooming and stuff like that. The reason I mentioned scheduling these things early, making appointments the last minute in November or December can be a real tricky thing. And you're better off pre-scheduling some of these things, or at least getting tentative appointments in place so that you can reduce the worry from having to plan those. So go through your calendars. Now, there are other things you might like to do. Maybe you've never been to a live performance of the Nutcracker, or maybe there's a holiday village nearby and you want to visit it and see what they do over there. Put it on your list of things you want to do. Kind of like Santa, I don't say a bucket list, let's call it a boot list. The list of things you want to do, throw it in your boot, or throw it in your hat, whichever you want. But the thing is, you want to have a list of things to do. And you're saying to yourself, oh, how can I go to a holiday village? Or how can I do this? You can camouflage yourself. Yes. How many of you've already been wearing masks everywhere. Well, why don't we just, you make a mask? Now, I work in New York City. I have done a lot of events here where I have to sneak into an office building and I can't let any of the kids see me because the parents came to work that morning. They brought the kids with them and the kids are running all over the building. I have to sneak in and then get dressed. So I'll put on a hat. I'll put on a hoodie. I'll put a scarf on all the way up, over my mustache and my beard. And all they see is the glasses and the nose, okay? You can do the same thing. I've been a guest at the tree lighting at Rockefeller Center. Santa's right over there. Yes, Oh, and that's Bette Midler on the stage, 10 feet in front of me. But nobody knows I'm Santa because I've got a scarf covering everything. I got the hoodie on, but I got to enjoy the show. So you can go out sometimes and with a little bit of trickery or a little bit of scarf, or we got all these face masks and things like that now. Again, you can hide the fact that you're Santa and still go out and enjoy an event. So again, maybe you can go visit that holiday village or theme attraction. So again, August is simple. Okay, a holiday card list, you know, maybe check other lists if you've got anything like that. Check your calendar, make sure everything's right, and move on. Now, if you were going to skip July and skip August, okay, you just take these items and you just push them into September, okay? Now, when you go to my website, nationalsanta.com, you're going to see on the menu bar about NS. That's about National Santa. That's me. If you click on that, you scroll down a little bit, you're going to see something that says writings and articles. These are things that I've written, articles and writings. You click on that, you're going to see a list of things that I've written about. And one of the things that's there, it's Get a Head Start, starting in September, starting in August, starting in July, even starting in October. If you really procrastinate, you can start in October. Now, all of them are about the same collection of things to do. It's just if you miss a month, those items are shoved into the next month. And some things are shoved a little further up the road. But the thing is, all the items are in each month. It's just how early you want to start, how much you want to spread it out, okay? Okay, let's get back to September. Update your calendar, go through it, you know, and make sure you include personal trips. You know, you're going to go to Aunt Harriet's, going to go to Grandma's house, that type of thing. Are you having any business trips, you know? Family trips, concerts, socials, annual parties, anything like that. September is also a month when you can start checking around for holiday decorations and other special things. Hallmark in September generally has their Christmas ornaments out. They start getting them out early. You can go into the crown stores, the Hallmark crown stores, and often they have a special Christmas calendar. It's a little booklet, has lots of handy hints in it for the holidays, gives you some great ideas. It's free, it's a giveaway, so you can go in and get that at your Hallmark crown stores, okay? Check and see if you can get one anyway. Oh, something I forgot to mention, schedule days to do any baking or cooking during the holidays, okay? And this is not just for the Mrs. Claus. I know some of you Santas like to cook too. So again, schedule those days that you're going to do it. By the way, those are a couple of things you actually will do in December after you've started your regular work. But when we get to the early part of November, we'll talk about getting ready for the cooking in December, because there's a lot of prep you can do so you don't have to be running around at the last minute in December when you get ready to do your cooking, okay? Decide where you're going to be in September. It's a good time to decide where you're going to go for the holidays. By the holidays, I mean Christmas and beyond, okay? I recommend that every Santa and Mrs. Claus schedule something to do right after Christmas. Now, you're probably saying to yourself, oh, no, 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 I just spent 40 days working. I got to rest. I've got to relax. Well, have you ever heard of a rock star or an entertainer, you know, going into a deep depression right after a concert? They're so euphoric, they put out so much energy on stage, and then they go back to their dressing room and they're just, you know, they're worn out, they're exhausted, they're depressed, you know, all that type of stuff. It happens to some of us too. You know, you've had a fantastic season, you've seen all of these children. There's a lot of emotions that go on, and then all of a sudden it's all over. You know, you're no longer in the limelight. You know, your time is done. They're not going to be thinking about you again for another, you know, 10 months. So what happens? Well, some Santas do get a little tired and depressed and such. Now, if you were to lay down and decide to take a big long nap, a day or two, whatever, or just relax, one of the crazy things that happens is sometimes your immune system shuts down. You're totally relaxed and your whole body relaxes. And this is not good, because that's when that cold sneaks in. That cold you've been holding off all month sneaks in on you. So a couple of years ago, what I started doing was planning for something exciting to do right after I got done with my Santa work, going somewhere with the family, doing something special, because that kept my excitement level up. So I was done with all the excitement with the families and the kids and everybody else, and I could turn right around and have the excitement with my family, my daughter, son-in-law, everybody. A couple of years we went on some cruises. One year we rented a cabin upstate, you know, different things, you know. Another year we just scheduled time to have a big party, you know, and again, all of these things are important, because it keeps your energy level up, it keeps your activity level up, and it keeps your immune system up, and that's very, very important. So I think it's decide what you're gonna do after the holidays, and if it's a travel thing, where you're gonna rent a place, you're gonna travel somewhere. Do you have to get tickets? Do you gonna buy airline tickets? Whatever. Start planning those things now. Think about it. Now is also a good time to slip in a few scheduled breaks too. Like I said, you stress out a little bit during the holidays. Why not make sure you put a couple mental health days or mental health spots within your calendar? These are spots where you take care of yourself. You can go, excuse me, you can go relaxing. I gotta get a little drink of water here, excuse me. That's the only problem about talking a lot. A lot of hot air going out takes all the moisture out. So you got to put moisture back in. Anyway, what I was talking about is make sure you got other breaks in there. So maybe you want to have, like I said, I've talked about, maybe getting a mani-pedi and things like that. But I've got some Santas who try to schedule 1 or 2 rounds of golf during the month of December to get away from it all, to go out and stretch their legs, take in the fresh air, anything like that is very important to your mental health too. So think about those types of things. Sometimes it's just joining with Mrs. Claus in cooking. It could be, or wrapping some last minute gifts and things like that. Just little things like that to break the monotony of the regular work that you're doing. It's good for your mental health, okay? Also in September, it's a good time to, if you have any gifts you haven't ordered yet, it's a good time to start ordering them. Get online, check the internet, find things that you might need. And it's also a good time to, especially getting gifts or planned that you might have to ship overseas, because you need to ship those during October. So again, you need to get them purchased in September and ready to go, so that in October you can mail them, and your friends will get them in time if you mail them in October. You might want to start buying a few gift cards in September. It's always handy to have gift cards for people. And some people, it's a lot easier. The elves invented gift cards. Yes, I tell the kids this all the time. Santa invented the photobomb, where we sneak into, and jump behind people. Mrs. Claus invented the selfie. Yes, and the elves invented gift cards. Now, the reason they did that is that sometimes they found that Santa couldn't always figure out what the kids wanted, so a gift card was a good way to take care of it. Number 2, it lightened the load in the sleigh. Oh man, it made things so much easier for the elves. So again, gift cards are very, very popular. And you may want to find gift cards that are favorite stores or locations or restaurants or things like that, that your loved ones or whoever you're planning to give the card to can use. If you've got a friend that likes a certain type of restaurant, chances are that restaurant may have a gift card available. So that would be a very special touch. And if not a brand name business or restaurant, you can always get Visa, MasterCard, or American Express gift cards too. Very, very handy. And I recommend you have 1 or 2 extras around the house too, just in case that surprise guest shows up with a little gift. You might have something to give them back. It's always handy to have. This is a time in September maybe to order the cards if you haven't ordered your Christmas cards yet. Update your Christmas letter if you're going to put a letter in your cards. You started writing it, earlier in July or August. We'll update it, add a few more things that's going on. If you start writing that letter early and then each month add on what happened that month, then by the time it's ready to mail that, you've got it, you've written down everything. You haven't worried about trying to remember what happened 3 months ago, 4 months ago, 6 months ago. So again, writing it down. And again, in September, holiday decorations. Some of the stores will start having them. Some stores wait a little bit until most of the Halloween stuff is gone. Others start early. Michael's, Hobby City, and places like that, a lot of them will always have Christmas stuff early, particularly for people who are creative and want to make things. And in some cases, they have artists and people that come in and make things that you can buy, handmade items that are already completed, particularly at Michael's, things like that. Okay. You're not going to like this last item for September. Well, you may or may not, but I also like to remind everybody, September is a good time to think about yourself in regards to your health and your diet and things like that. You're going to be having a heavy schedule in November and December. Make sure that, you know, as we're talking about July, August, September, whatever, that you've been doing a little prep work, okay? Stretching, walking exercises. September is a good month to remind you to make sure you eat well, get plenty of sleep, you know, get your system ready for that extra physical stress that's going to come on your body when November, December hits. The more you can do early to get conditioned, it will make it a lot easier for you to make it through those 2 months of, you know, busy, 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 busy. Just, you know what I'm talking about, okay? You need to take care of yourself on that, okay? Let's talk about that wonderful month of October. Yes, we're going to have, of course, Halloween and all the things the kids are doing. But guess what? It's a month when Santa has to get himself ready. By the way, do you know there are some Santas who actually start work before Halloween? Yeah, some of the theme attractions. Some places actually have pictures with Santa before Halloween while people are visiting. They're prepping, you know, customers come in. Example, the Dixie Stampede and other venues like that. Some of the venues down in Florida and Orlando, sometimes they'll have photo sessions and they'll have Christmas sets already up. So you can have a picture taken right there that will be holiday oriented. And sometimes they have Santa there. So you never know how it goes. I don't know what's going to happen yet this year. We're still all waiting. In fact, I was listening to some of the Santas chatting before we started this webinar tonight, and some of them were talking about the schedules and things like that. I'm hoping that next week I'll cover a little bit on that, some updates that I have on what's going on in the industry. But again, we'll work on this schedule tonight on getting a head start in the holidays, and maybe we'll talk more about jobs next week. I've got to let a couple people in. Okay. I know some people had to leave because they were going over to have dinner, or they had to catch up with Ed is covering tonight in the Mrs. Claus workshop, so I do understand. Okay. October. October is finish ordering your gifts. If you have any gifts that you need, October is a month to finish ordering anything you have to order online, so at least you have it in time and taken care of. Especially before the November rush, okay? By the end of October, Christmas decorations will pretty much come into play. In fact, middle of October, you should be finding a lot of Christmas decorations in Target and other stores, Home Depot, places like that, particularly the big items. You know, if you like those big inflatable things or animated displays and stuff like that, you'll find a lot of those at the at those big stores. And a lot of those come out usually mid-October. And again, some of them sell out pretty quick. They're really good ones. So if you're planning on adding something special, that's a good time to plan for it. October is also the month when you can purchase Christmas stamps. The post office will come out with a series of stamps in October. Usually they have a Christmas stamp. They'll have a Madonna and child stamp, usually a Christian-based holiday stamp. They'll probably have a Kwanzaa stamp and other holiday stamps. This year, and by the way, if you can't wait till October, the U.S. Postal Service is issuing a new Let's Celebrate. Yes, it's called Let's Celebrate stamp. It's a stamp that adds fun to celebratory greeting cards, invitations, gift-bearing envelopes, and packages. And as the post office is saying, no matter what the occasion, birthday, anniversary, holiday, engagement, new job, retirement, Let's Celebrate is the stamp to put on those cards. And it's so that will be available at the post office very shortly. And these are forever stamps, just like the Christmas stamps. By the way, if you have Christmas stamps left over from last year, they're still good this year because they're forever stamps. For some of you, if you need a Christmas stamp before October, check with your postmaster at your local post office. Some of them have leftover stamps from last year that were Christmas, and they just put it in the safe and they bring them back out again when we get closer to Christmas. Well, sometimes you can go in and ask them, they'll pull them out, and you can buy Christmas stamps. They're last year's, I think last year were Christmas wreaths, if I'm correct. Some of them even have may have the Coca-Cola stamps that were done with the Hayden Sundblom Santa. But again, different stamps you can find. They're forever stamps. They're good anytime. Even if the postage goes up, they're still good because their value goes up with the change in postal rates. That's why they're called forever stamps. So you can't get those. Let's see, that's post office. October's a good month to maybe make your labels that are going to go on your Christmas cards. Okay. You know, you get that fancy paper and you put it in your printer, and there's all kinds of little programs. And if you are tech savvy, you can print out your own labels to go on your Christmas cards. Makes it a lot easier. I print actually on a clear label, or it's a frosty clear label. And when I put it on the envelope, the label disappears. All you see is the type. So it's very beautiful. And I learned that when my daughter was getting married. We had to do custom invitations, and that's how we did the dressing on some of the invitations and things. Gift certificates. If you have to do any personalized gift certificates for anyone, now is the time to order those gift certificates. Get them in October or early November. You don't waste your time on it. In October, double check your calendar again for changes in the school schedule, social, business, any events. Make sure, you know, maybe you put a note down that you knew there was going to be an event, but you didn't have the exact date. You kind of penciled it in. Now's the time to call and double check and make sure that date is still a go. Or if it's changed, get the new date posted. But you need to make sure your calendar is updated. Keep your calendar updated. I mentioned pre-planning, pre-scheduling December days for yourself, for mental health and things like that. Beauty salon, barber, spa, golf, appointments for your pets, any of those things. Make sure you've got them all on the calendar before November comes along, because you need them for Thanksgiving too, you know. So again, get them all taken care of. Okay, we're getting to November now, okay? How are we on the calendar here? My clock here? I got 15 minutes to get you through November and December, okay? So we got to move ahead here. In November, you address the rest of your holiday cards before Thanksgiving. You proofread that holiday letter you were working on, and you print it and insert it with the cards and the envelopes. You put those stamps that you got in October on them and get everything ready to mail, okay? Now, I'm going to give you, Santas and Mrs. Claus, a really, really neat secret. What if your card or letter, whoever you mailed it to, arrived to your loved one or friend, and the postmark said North Pole? You can do it. The postmaster actually has a program set up. You take all of your envelopes, you address them, you put on the correct postage. Make sure you got the correct postage. If it's a larger envelope, it needs a little more postage, but make sure you got the correct postage. Address, return address, whatever you need. You take all those cards, you put them in one of those, priority mail boxes. You know, the one price box, it's like $10.95 or something like that. And you send it to the postmaster, North Pole, Alaska. Yeah. When it gets to the North Pole, they pull it out and they hand cancel every envelope with the North Pole postmark. Now, you want to do something different? How about Santa Claus, Indiana, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania? Wherever there is a post office that has a holiday name, you could send a whole box of letters or cards, pre-postage on them, put them in the box and mail them to the postmaster. All the postmasters know exactly what to do. The box arrives, they open it up, they see all these pre-stamped, prepaid, cards and stuff, and they just hand cancel them and they send them out for you. So when your friends or loved ones get that card, the postmark says North Pole or Santa Claus, Indiana, or wherever. Real handy little thing to do. Okay. November is also, again, order the last, any gift certificate you still need or an additional gift cards. Remember to have extra gift cards around the house, in case a surprise guest shows up. And by the way, if that surprise guest doesn't show up, you just got a gift for yourself, okay? Now you got a card to use for something else you want. By the way, gift cards are a great item because most people get them when? Christmas morning or just before Christmas. When are they going to use them? After Christmas. What happens after Christmas? After Christmas sales. when everything's discounted. So they can use their card and they get an extra bonus because they get to use their card when things are on sale. So you're doing a really neat things. November is a great time to start pre-wrapping things. Even if you haven't got the bows on them, everything, let's get everything wrapped, okay? I recommend that you put a code on every package, put the initials of the person that it's going to, or something special, just on the back and near a flap or something, in a little black permanent marker, put down something that will remind you who that package is for. And then you can always just, put the ribbon and bows on a little later if you want. Now, in my case, we put all the bows and everything on and we start sticking things under the tree. By the 15th of December, our house is completely loaded. It's ready for Christmas morning. Well, there are a few things we might surprise somebody with, but everything's pretty much out there. Anyway, make sure you make the IDs on them. That way you don't forget. Send all your overseas gifts before Thanksgiving. Anything going overseas should be in the shipping channels before Thanksgiving, okay? After Thanksgiving, you can send U.S. gifts and things like that. By the way, those overseas gifts, if you have any friends in the military, loved ones overseas serving, again, before Thanksgiving, you want to get that package in the mail to them. And the Postal actually has special boxes and rates for military personnel overseas. Okay, so again, the shipping is actually just as though you're mailing it to a military base here in the U.S., same price as going overseas. So use the advantage of priority mail to get those packages to your loved ones in the service. Review your calendar for parties and events. Update that calendar. The calendar is one of those things you're going to constantly have to look at and update during the holidays to make sure you're ready for everything. And remember that the day after a party or a major event, you may be a little exhausted. So you want to make sure you don't plan too many back-to-back things. I've had some major events where I had to work until 10, 11 o'clock at night. You don't want to have a breakfast with Santa at 8 a.m. in the morning the next day. Of course, unless you're Iron Man and can do those types of things. But you want to plan yourself well so that you can do both. I have done things like that. Sometimes what I do is I'll do an event. I know I'm going to get done at 11 o'clock. I don't even go home. I get a hotel nearby the morning event. I go right to that hotel, check in, get a night's sleep, and I get up in the morning. I'm right near my venue for the morning. I do that here in New York City. I'll finish an event on Sunday night, and Monday morning I can be somewhere, And so I do try to plan, again, you're going to be tired sometimes, but the thing is, if you pace yourself, if you plan well, you'll take care of, little problems like that. But try not to put too many events back to back, at least events that require a lot of work and stress out of you, okay? November is also the month to shop for all the food staples that you're going to need. That is the non-perishables. So if you're going to be baking fudge, you want to get the sugar and the chocolate chips and chocolate and things like that. Make sure you got your vanilla and all the other things you're going to put into the fudge, okay? You want to get all that stuff taken care of now, but you don't need to, you're not going to cook it now, but you'll get those things. If you're going to make mincemeat pies, you're going to buy the mincemeat. If you're making pumpkin pies, you buy the pumpkin mix and all the other stuff you need. The only thing you don't buy right now are your fresh produce items, your milk, your eggs, any type of produce that you need, any meats that you have to cook or things like that. You get those fresh for when you're going to cook. But anything else you can get early. You can stock up your pantry with all the staples that you need for all the things that you're going to make in December. Get them early. And when you go into your supermarket, you're going to see they've got displays in November with all of those things there. They'll have special little islands where they've got the powdered sugar, the regular sugar, the chocolate chips, the vanilla, all the spices and everything you need for any type of holiday dish, they've got them there. So it's good stuff to have. In my case, another thing I like to do is I always grab an extra package of those Toll House cookies, the ones you can cut up, just in case I need an emergency batch of cookies, because I can pull those out, cut it up real quick, throw it in the oven, and in 10 minutes, we've got fresh cookies for everybody. So I try to plan a few little things like that. It makes it really great for those surprise guests who just show up And, you know, you're not expecting everything. And all of a sudden you're bringing out fresh baked cookies like you knew they were coming, you know. So it's always good to do. Anyway, but, you know, that's the other thing you can do. You can start making a list now of the things you're going to want to get for those cooking items. So create an inventory of those things. Okay. November is also the time when you decorate the house. Get all your stuff up there. I start at the beginning of November, putting all kinds of decorations out. I usually start inside the house. Don't need to put everything outside just yet, but I start getting some of the things done that I need to get done, certain things in place. If I have to change the throw rug and put a Christmas type of throw rug, we have lots of pillows at our house. So lots of holiday pillows come out of the attic and come down and are spread around the sofas in the living room and the family room and things like that. Decorations and table runners and things like that for the dining room. And we start putting those things out, getting the house. And guess what? As we're doing it, our attitudes all of a sudden get festive. There's nothing wrong with starting Christmas early. You know, when COVID-19 started, they were talking about people putting up Christmas lights, just trying to get excited to break the monotony. There's nothing wrong with starting a little early. And this year, I think even more so. So again, you can put up your decorations anytime you want, but get them up in November, get them done early so that, you know, by Thanksgiving, it's all done. You know, the last thing you want to have to put out, you put a wreath on the door. And some of us Santas are getting pretty smart. We found these projector lights. You put them in the front lawn and they make snowflakes all over your house and everything. Again, you know, even if you can't do a lot of decorating, just putting a projector or two out front can make your whole house a holiday, you know, festive for everybody to see. Okay. Double check all your appointments for your haircuts and things. Clean the house. Okay, this is always the fun thing the week before Thanksgiving. If you have family, it's a family event. A day or two of cleaning everything. You know, teamwork is always good. So sometimes, you know, if you've got things like doing. If you are by yourself, if it's just you and Mrs. Claus, maybe one of the things you might want to think about doing is hiring a one-day cleaning service to come in and help out. Maybe surprise Mrs. Claus a little, you know, she's got a lot of work to do, you know, following Santa around, trying to, you know, clean up after him. Why not have someone come in and help out a little bit? If she's acceptable to it, you know, I mean, but the thing is having them, and you may even want to ask that cleaning company to come back maybe one day during December, just before Christmas, and do the same thing again. It's always handy to have, okay? Anyway, have the whole house done and decorated before Thanksgiving, okay? December, this is the final run here. We're on the last stretch, okay? Final check of your calendar for all your parties and events and everything you're gonna do. Mail all your cards and letters by December 1st. Get them out of the way. Even that box you're gonna ship up to the North Pole, again, if it's priority mail, it's gonna get up there in 2 or 3 days. So again, you wanna drop it, you know, around Thanksgiving or right after Thanksgiving to get it up to North Pole. Or if you're sending it to Santa Claus, Indiana, the same thing, 2 or 3 days to get that there. They'll then mail everything out that first week of December. All your Christmas letters will be mailed out, okay? Enjoy a day of baking and cooking. You know, that's always a fun thing to do that, you know, cooking your favorite treats and dishes, you know, you know, by the way, you started that diet in September. Now you know why you started the diet, because this day was coming when you start enjoying some of the goodies and things from December, okay? And if you have to make gift bags or gift boxes, it's time to put all those things together. Double check all your lists, finish wrapping all your stuff before December 15th. Get all your gift wrapping, everything done before December 15th. That last 10 days can be much more relaxful for you and Mrs. Claus if you've got all your things taken care of. And then what I recommend, if you've got the time, you know how particularly for the Santas that just do private parties and stuff, you know how just as we get up before Christmas Eve, all of a sudden there's a dead day in there somewhere. I recommend you try to schedule that dead day and schedule a day at a spa or a day to go sit in a jacuzzi somewhere or get a massage, something. I've gone to Spa Envy, I think is the name of the company, and gotten a massage for myself and Mrs. Claus. Believe me, our attitudes are so much better the last 2 days when we've had that little treat for ourselves. And, you know, sometimes it's important to think of yourselves. I mean, you know, it's not always about you or the, you know, because our job is the kids and the families. But once in a while, you have to think a little bit about, you know, your own personal care. And this is a great thing to do. Anyway, all of this is done. You're done. Pat yourself on the back for getting a head start on the holidays, okay? And I hope all these ideas will help you in your goals so you can have more time with family and friends and everybody else. And again, as I said earlier, for those of you who stuck with me for the last hour, all of this is printed on my website, nationalsanta.com. If you go to the website, right on the menu bar, it'll say About NS. That's me, About National Santa. Click on that. You'll see a whole list of things that I've written, articles and subjects, you know, and on that list, as you get down near the bottom of it, you will see starting in October, starting in September, starting in August, starting in July. And you can click on any one of those and you're going to get everything I just got done covering. Everything set up in different ways for each of the different months. Okay. Again, I hope this helped out. You'll also find a few other articles I've written about diversity with Santas and about the COVID-19 and our health and things like that. Oh, one of the things I missed in here, I just remembered, your flu shots. October is the month when you want to get your flu shots. Okay. And hopefully we've got an antivirus coming out. Let's cross our fingers that that's going to happen. Final reminder, my guest next Tuesday night, again, is going to be Lieutenant General James Laster, who he's retired from the Marine Corps, but he is now the president and CEO of the Marine Corps Toys for Tots Foundation. He's going to be my guest. We're going to talk about the annual campaign a little bit, and especially Christmas in July. The fundraising campaign we're going to do for the month of July to help replenish the 2 million toys that we just helped give away to the children and families during this season. So, and don't forget, if you want to make a donation to Toys for Tots, you can go to their website, toysfortots.org, and they do accept donations there. And I'll also in the future broadcast talk about how you can be a volunteer for your local Toys for Tots campaign, because we have that available on the websites too, information on that. So again, I hope everybody had a good evening. And let me see if I can, everybody should be able to unmute themselves. So if you want to unmute yourselves and if you have any questions or anything like that, I'm open to it. Mute all, yes. So anybody have any questions or anything? I'm not hearing anybody. You have to unclick yourself. I think that's what we got to do. Let me see if I can do here.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, allow participants to unmute. Okay. Mute,
yeah. Yeah, thank you so much for all the tips.
Okay.
The only thing that I might have to ask is, oh, I'm sorry, someone is talking.
Okay, Bernard, you had something?
Yeah, I got lost in the internet the last 2 weeks, so.
Oh, okay.
I finally made it in tonight.
I'm hoping my internet signal is a little bit better.
Yeah.
Dealing with Optimum, trying to get a higher bandwidth, but one of the big things with COVID-19 is so much of the bandwidth here in America.
Well, I did go to Facebook and was watching it till it finally brought me in.
Oh, good. Okay. Anybody got any questions there?
Yes. So how can we get the book that you give out on your Wednesday tips?
Okay, which book? I have 3 books. I have Behind the Red Suit, which is the one I sell in the school.
Right.
I have this book here, which I was talking about tonight, which is Santa's Tips to Surviving the Holidays.
Okay.
That's where we've got this schedule with July and all that stuff. And then I have Making the Moment, which is my newest book, which is the advanced session for the school.
Yes. That's the one I'm looking for.
That's the book you're looking for.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you sign up for the session.
Okay.
Visit schoolforsantas.com
Okay.
And what you can do is, if you want, if
Look at
you
this guy right here.
already
He did picking
a
his
regular
teeth,
session,
picking his
you
nose.
sign up
I don't know which.
for just the advanced session. I'll send you the thumb drive with all
Back
the
his friend out.
class for a whole day and a copy of the book.
Okay. Thank you.
That's where we've got that right now.
Y'all have a blessed night.
Hey, thanks a lot, Tim.
You're very
All right,
welcome,
Tim,
guys.
thank you.
Pals.
Thank
and
you.
Tim.
I
Thanks,
see
Tim.
them
Take
very
care, everybody.
sitting off
Take
on the
care.
side. They're so quiet.
Thank you, Tim from Houston.
Bye,
Oh,
guys.
ho, 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 ho.
Good night, everyone. Take care.
Good night. Good night, Tim.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Thanks, Tim. I'll be checking in with him from DC next week.